What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also know I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And yes, it's a Friday night, and it has been a while since Dr. Vibe has been on live on a Friday night, so it don't happen that often, so catch it while you can. So, as always, we have more friends coming on the Dr. Vibe show, and this gentleman's, he's old hat. He's been on for a while, but most people, if you know of him, Dr. Rasheed, Dr. Lawrence Rasheed, you are used to hearing him most Sunday nights on Do You Know What Time It Is, which is live audio roundtable I do with a group of black male thought leaders. But we have pulled him into the 2017s, and he is actually on visually with us tonight live. The reason why he is live is an event that he's spearheading on July 15th. A little background about it: in observance to Black Mental Health Awareness Month, an organization that he is in charge of called G.R.I.O.T, and he'll explain what that is in a few moments, are continuing their series of symposiums tackling the taboo. In this series, they touch on issues that often go ignored within the black community, especially issues related to black men. These events are meant to raise awareness and help the community and the members of it. In this upcoming installment on July 15th in Antioch, California, G.R.I.O.T will be discussing black mental health issues facing our black male community. The event is being moderated by Dr. Richard Hanzy, who will be joined by several black male thought leaders such as Dr. Lamont Francies, former San Francisco Police Captain Cornelius and Author LeRon Barton. Yes, that is the LeRon Barton you hear most Sunday nights and also see periodically on the Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. So G.R.I.O.T hopes that you'll be able to join them if you're in the area, but we'd like to welcome, first time I think visually, Dr. Lawrence Rasheed. What is up, Dr. Rasheed?
Dr. Vibe, always a pleasure. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me the space and opportunity to share this very important event that we're going to have here on the 15th. I'm doing well. It is extremely hot here in Antioch. I think the last few weeks I spoke to you, it was hot and it's very warm again. It's like about 110.
Yep.
So it's pretty warm. So yeah, after this video podcast, I will be taking a dip because it's warranted.
Well, and I'm speaking, you have air conditioning.
Yes, air conditioning, ceiling fans, water. Yes.
Okay, all the prenuptials. So, since this is visual, and a lot of people may not know who you are and what you're all about, can you share a little background about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so like you said, Dr. Vibe, I'm a frequent guest on Do You Know What Time It Is? So a little bit about me: I am the founder of G.R.I.O.T, which is an acronym that stands for Greatness Rediscovered in Our Time. It's also a West African storyteller, so it's a double entendre. And with that being said, we are showing the greatness of the young men that we work with while challenging the pathologies that are wrongly associated with them. We hear about these axioms and tropes about black males, and we know these things aren't true, but they get fixated within our society, and a lot of people think these things are true. So we're challenging that narrative in the work that we do with these young and sometimes older gentlemen that we have the potential of working with. That we have the great pleasure of working with.
Okay. What was your life growing up as a young black man?
Oh, it's funny that you ask. So I grew up with the Islamic faith. So, and with that being said, I kind of transitioned within the two different sects within Islam. First and foremost, my parents and I were a part of the Nation of Islam. So you saw this young, handsome brother with the custom-made suits and the bow ties and the shiny head, and it wasn't the norm. There was a lot of trepidation around who's this kid and what's wrong with these folks? Because again, Christianity is the majority, especially within the Black community. At least where I was raised in Southeast San Diego. So it was kind of tough at first because people looked at us with this trepidation, like, you know, it was a lot of xenophilia, like they're weird. There was a fear of the unknown. But over time, you know, I made good friends, and in addition to being a part of the Nation of Islam, we transitioned to the more traditional Islam under Worthy Muhammad. So, but you know, with that being said, Dr. Vibe, I often talk to my dad and my mother, and they also often tell me that I was born radical. Like, my mother often tells me that, you know, I was leading the cadence of the FOI, you know, the Brothers of the Nation of Islam, and I was counting off the cadence. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was there, and he said, "This young brother knows the cadence, and he's reading it and leading it." And I had no idea because I was just a young buck. But my parents always tell me that, yeah, you came out that way. So who you are today is you're not putting on any airs. You've always been unapologetic and really a lover of your people, and that has a lot to do with the way I was reared.
Okay, and share a little bit about how you were reared. What was your parents all about? What things did they instill in you as you were growing up as a young Black man?
Well, definitely to have love for self and love for people. You know, I attended, you know, initially I attended Sister Claire Muhammad School in San Diego, and then I later transitioned to Community Prep, which were both Muslim educational schools. So within those spaces, it was strict, very kind of like a disciplinary kind of environment, which was good. I'm not saying I was a bad kid, but it instilled in me the type of passion and fervor I have today as an educator. So, you know, growing up with, you know, my two sisters, and my older brother's now deceased, in that environment, it really helped and shape and mold the way I am today. Of course, my father and my mother, I think they did a wonderful job. Bless them. And it wasn't just them, it was a village. It was a village of people in the community that kept me on the right track. Because unfortunately, I have some homeboys that didn't, you know, we all do, right? Have some friends that, you know, got the short end of the stick. And I just think I'm truly blessed that I didn't end up, you know, with that stick per se. But it was a village that raised me in addition to my parents, you know, people in the community. You know, it was like the olden days where if the neighbor across the street said, "Hey, you're messing around and I'm going to whip you behind," they actually had the right and obligation to do it and then tell my parents. And that's what I mean by the village. So I was very fortunate, and I listened to the people around me. So I didn't say, "Oh, you're not my daddy, now my mom, I have to listen to you." No, I actually listened to the people because they helped shape the mold, you know, today.
Excellent. What gave you the energy or thought to form G.R.I.O.T?
So my senior year of high school at Samuel Gompers, it's just ironic that Samuel Gompers was a racist, but at Samuel Gompers secondary school, the school district piloted a pupil advocacy program, where this program was put in place to kind of ameliorate the plight of Black males. So it was at, you know, my school and 3 other schools. So within that scope, you had these pupil advocates who were essentially mentors to the Black young males on campus. But they just didn't limit it to the Black males. They helped everybody. But, you know, with fidelity, they made sure that they were trying to raise up the grade point averages, make sure that the young men were graduating. Now, this is back in 1989. This was a long time ago. So when I had the opportunity to be a part of that, it was very nostalgic. And what I mean by that, it was like I was in Sister Claire Muhammad Community Prep again, where we always learned about Black history. It was something that happened with automaticity. It wasn't something that just took place in February. We learned about these people all the time. It was ingrained in us. So when this program, when this pilot was implemented, I was like, wow, this is great. You know, now fortunately, I was graduating from high school, but I just was really, I was really just excited of the opportunity of this type of program coming to fruition and what it was doing. So after I graduated high school, fast forward, I wanted to emulate that. I wanted to do what these men were doing in the community. And the reason why I wanted to do that because, so I started in junior college in San Diego, and I'll never forget this. I even put this in my dissertation that I was in a counseling office and I saw a big picture poster, excuse me, of a young Black male, and it had a question above, or excuse me, was underneath him, and it said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And in big bold letters above it, it said, "Alive." And the back of the hairs on my neck stood up because I'm thinking, "Wow." He didn't say I wanted to be a doctor or a fireman or a football player or some of the typical response you would hear from a young person. He said, "Alive." And so that got me thinking, you know, as a young Black male in Southern California, where yes, we had gang violence, we had all these types of things that were happening to the brothers within the community, the pushing of the drugs, especially crack, into our inner cities, it was just a proliferation of violence taking place. And so I said, what could I do to thwart that? Now this is I'm like 18 at the time. I'm thinking, what can I do to make sure that no other young brother has an answer to that question alive? Now, lately people have made fun of that and say, oh, when somebody say I want to be alive, I don't think that's funny, especially when the amount of specifically Black males that have been shot, by police and shot within their own communities. It's been a travesty. So when you hear somebody try to make a joke of that, I don't think that's funny. So all that being said, that kind of led to my fervor and my passion to do the work that I'm doing currently. So back when I was a pup, I initiated RAMP, which stood for Greatness Rediscovered in Our Time. Excuse me, no, Reaching African American Male Potential. I have so many acronyms, I got to get them right. So RAMP stood for Reaching African American Male Potential.
Right.
And I started that when I was a pup in San Diego, and I implemented it myself in the several school districts in San Diego. I forged relationships with administrators and or counselors, parents, so on and so forth. And these young men, I was there with my mother at the time. We would meet Saturday at my home, go over various topics, check them out academically, and just make sure they were on the right track. And I just started getting better. I started researching. Of course, Dr. Kajufu was one of the first, scholars that I came across doing this particular work. So I got all of this work, and I just began that mission of, okay, I'm going to become an educator. So I became a teaching assistant. When I transitioned to Arkansas, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, HBCU, got to shout them out. When I went there, I had a whole lot of experience as an educator. As a teacher's assistant, what they call paraprofessional, I actually taught in the classroom. Okay. I mean, I was that skilled that I could do that. So fast forward, I continued doing that work into undergrad, where I was mentoring young brothers and sometimes even young sisters in various capacities. But my whole plight was to make sure that I continue doing this work. Fast forward, I came back to the Bay Area, or I came back to California. My wife at the time said, you need to start that program up again. Because she and I both were teaching. And I said, that was years ago. I was naive because I had stopped, research and everything. I'm like, oh, pretty sure that was like 10 years ago. The problem's not the same. And then get into the classroom and start researching everything again, it almost was even worse to some degree. So I implemented, RAMP out here in the Bay Area. It later transitioned into a charter school that we wanted to have deliberately and with fidelity for Black males. Unfortunately, the political climate didn't allow us to do that. So it was a co-ed school. Nevertheless, it still was successful. Unfortunately, I transitioned from that school. It did end up closing. And various people had approached me while I was in graduate school saying, you need to start another mentoring organization. So I said, hey, graduate school is very time consuming and very rigorous. I don't know if I could do this. So there was a time when I finished my coursework where I said, okay, I can do it now, which I shouldn't have done because I should have finished both. But the time I started this, Dr. Vibe, it was very interesting. So I had a cadre of brothers, and I pulled them together. One had a background in special ed. I had like the dream team. It was 4 of us. And we would get together on Saturdays and basically go over various scenarios that we may encounter with these young brothers that we're going to encounter. And just making sure that we were sharp. And I implemented G.R.I.O.T, which I mentioned earlier. And, the very first event we did, Dr. Rod, this is the weird irony. And my good brother, he always kicked me and said, you should have video recorded that event. The very first thing we did was we took a group of young men to see the debut of the Oscar Grant movie, what is it? That's not the title. Fruitvale Station. We went to see Fruitvale Station. It was about 15 of us, young men and fathers and some of the other mentors.
Wow.
And they went on the BART station. So they actually took BART out there and they were conversing. I didn't take BART because something happened. So they took BART. But the irony, Dr. Vibe, is, so as we're watching Fruitvale Station, and for those of you who have seen it, you see these men in here and these young men in here crying, because it's that powerful. But that's the same day that George Zimmerman was acquitted. It's the exact same day that he was acquitted. So a lot of parents were concerned because we were in Oakland and they're like, okay, they're going to start demonstrating everything and everyone's safe. But it was just like, wow, we're talking about this. We just witnessed this movie where there was a victim, being shot in cold blood and executed. And now we're seeing this happen again. It was surreal. So, that's just kind of like some of my and some of the experience that kind of led and still leads me to do this work. Right. Because I honestly think about how are we going to save these young brothers' lives every day.
You started the first organization at a young age, and then you started G.R.I.O.T. How did you feel knowing that when you started the second organization, the challenges were worse than when you started your first organization?
Wow. So it was tough. And I'm not going to lie to you, Dr. Vibe. Sometimes I would, and this was a kind of emotional time for me too, because I was transitioning from my marriage. So I was like, wow. But I was still immersed in the research and the data and everything. And sometimes in my apartment, I would look at the data and I would weep. I would say, this is just ridiculous. Does anyone give a damn about this? And so I really started to look and challenge some of the research, really to see if these things were accurate. So some of the things they were. Like we're not graduating as well as we should be, but some of these things were axioms. They were urban myths, that were never probably accurate. My brother Ivory Tolson has these myth busting research papers that he's done, surrounding a lot of these so-called myths surrounding black males. And one of the things that he highlights is, a lot of people say that there are more black males in prison. Excuse me, there's more black males in prison opposed to college or university. That's not true. And so when you start peeling back some of these data, some of these are just, like I said, stated axioms just for various reasons. I think a lot of these things are out there to make it seem worse, so people can get monies, grants, so on and so forth. So that's not to say that we're not in the place where we should be as far as black males, but it's not as bad as some people would like to portray. Another thing you hear is that they make jails off of third grade test scores, right? And I researched that thoroughly. I'm like, okay, that may be a correlation, but that's not the causality. So, the truth of the matter is that, if you are not reading, in elementary school, you may have difficulties when you get to middle school. And if you have difficulties in school, you may drop out, or hence you may be pushed out. And if you're not in school, it could be that you take up some illegal activities and that you then go to jail. That could be. But that doesn't mean that there's a direct, causality of one leading into the other. And so people try to simplify these tropes about black males. And I think we really need to challenge them when they say this, and unpack it. Another thing we said on your show, Dr. Vibe, when we're talking about black fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So I may have to transition to off this.
Uh-oh. No, I can still hear you. I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, so
my neck anyway. But
no problem.
So the black fathers, you often say that the fathers are not around, they're not involved, with your children, and we know research proves that wrong. Black fathers are more involved with their children than any other ethnic group. So again, it was hard, Dr. Vibe, looking at these data. And, and being in school and actually seeing these young men, especially the young males, being kicked out of the classroom, getting sent to the office, getting expelled and suspended for just the most trivial reasons. So that's why I say a lot of this data is true, but it paints a picture of these young black males being something that they're not. I mean, they're just children like anyone else, but they get labeled, especially if you look at the work of, Philip Goff work, with implicit bias, and he has another article on how black males especially are viewed as being older than they are. So now it's an excuse to treat them older or treat them in some type of malice way, right? Because they're viewed as older, So all these things are out there, but to answer, to go back to your original question, yes, it was difficult. And I knew that I had to do things differently. I knew that I couldn't just depend on myself. And I knew I really had to be a researcher and get to the root of it. I mean, be practical and pragmatic, but also know the research and data and be able to challenge, tropes and axioms when I hear them. Not just based on other research, but based on what I've seen in the young men that I've worked with over the past few years are really challenging that narrative that society has about black men.
Can you give a little highlights from the first event that you put on?
So tackling taboo, or just any activity we've done?
No, I think let's stick to the taboo series. Let's focus on that.
Yeah. So the first tackling the taboo, wow, it was a Pyrrhic victory, and what I mean by that, it was emotionally overwhelming, because we were dealing with something that, again, it's taboo. It was molestation within the black community. And with my work and research on black males, although we had sisters on part of the panel as well, but I wanted to make sure we also gave light to the multiplicity of black males who have and are molested. And and just trying to create a forum for people so people can have resources and a space for people to talk about it. As a victim of molestation, it's something that can control you if you let it. It's definitely a sickness for some people. I think it could be excused, but some people could argue that. I would, if anybody were ever to do something to my son, I probably would lose it because I love my son to life. But it was really emotionally draining, but it was necessary. We had the brother Locksmith, who's local inside of the Bay Area, very talented brother. He has a song called The Hardest Song I Ever Wrote, where he, pretty much narrates his experiences, unfortunately being, molested by this older female. Now, a lot of people giggle and laugh, especially males or men. They often say, how can you be molested and or raped by a woman? And of course, my brother, Dr. Tommy Curry, Brother Hassan out here in California at Fresno State, they really unpack this. Of course, go ahead and get your copy of Man Not. I'm plugging my brother right here, Dr. Tommy Curry, get your copy. He really unpacks that too, especially going into the rape of Black men. But with this particular piece on tackling taboo, we address those things because often within the community, when young Black men are molested by a cougar, the sentiment is like, you got you son, right? Be cool. It's all right. Don't be a punk. Don't be a sissy. But that, in actuality, that's rape. That's molestation. And we tend to think that it's a notch on the belt when it's actually not. So this particular initial attack on the taboo, we really, peeled back some of those layers and had resources for people, who have dealt with those things. It's very sensitive. When we had this conversation, I was talking to my mentees about it. And, for years and years, I just blocked, my personal experience out like it never happened. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So it never, I buried it. And, people deal with it different ways. I think I'm okay. I don't have any, I'm not of that ilk where I want to seek to harm other people because it happened to me. But, it's interesting that I had another brother, actually he's getting married tomorrow. He, when we were conversing about this prior to the symposium, he was like, wow, that happened to you? That happened to me, and it was just like this catharsis, this release, like, wow, someone else has been through it and somebody else, because I'm older than he is and we have like a mentor-mentee relationship. And he's like, man, I didn't know. And who does know? Who wants to go out there and say, hey, I'm a victim of molestation, right? Who wants to do that?
Especially a man, especially a guy.
Especially a guy, and especially if it was homosexual molestation, right? Now you have to look at, are you gay? Are you, so all those types of things. But, that's the reason why this, the first tackling taboo, it was very successful. The thing that I gripe about it is that often we have these symposiums, but we don't have enough resources. So we have them and we check off a box and say, okay, we did that. But when we do something of this nature, we need to make sure there's a space. There's spaces for young men to come, to opine, to release, to get support, not just once, but on an ongoing basis. So I'm kind of upset with myself because I didn't make sure that was able to happen. But within this space, I'm trying to make sure that, the following Tuesday, there's a space available. I'm trying to link up with other agencies that provide resources for mental health awareness. So I'm learning from the first one, But the first one was successful, but it was emotionally draining.
Okay. So what has led you to look at the issue of Black mental health awareness, especially in regards to Black men?
Well, there's been, I'm going to give you two people, yourself. Not to say that you're crazy, but no, having the space, and I say this often on our, you know what time it is, having space for we Black men to opine is very cathartic. Having, because of course, as a critical race student, I believe that racism is permanent. And Black males deal with racism in a very nuanced way. And so oftentimes no one else really understands our plight as Black males other than Black males. So when we have that space to do that you provide a platform to do, it's not taken for granted. And it's just an opportunity for us to have that release. In addition to you, of course, my brother, Dr. Tommy Curry, with the work he's done, he often challenges us to do things for Black males. All right. And so I listen and I read his work and I said, okay, what can I do? Because he often says scholars, usually do things to monetize their situation. And I'm not saying it's bad to get money off what you do, but I think it is bad to prey upon and pimp those who you feel you're better than, and you're trying to distance yourself from by simultaneously benefiting off the backs of their, of their situation, of their plight. So I have a problem with that. So, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this particular symposium. Now, on a personal note, there's been a proliferation of suicide, Dr. Vibe. I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about my upbringing, Sister Claire Muhammad and community prep. Community prep was a school that I attended with a brother by the name of Rashawn Salam. Rashawn Salam was always very ambitious, handsome brother, wanted to play football. His father was a football player.
Yeah.
Rashawn Salam, he went to Colorado. He became the Heisman Trophy winner. Yep. He then played for the Chicago Bears. His NFL career was kind of short-lived, but nonetheless, he overcame some obstacles that he had personally, and, he did what a lot of people weren't able to do. Extremely proud of him. Over the years, of course, with him being in NFL, so on and so forth, we weren't in touch as we once were. Of course, his mother and father and stepfather are still in San Diego. Long story short, of course, we know a few months ago, Rashawn committed suicide.
Wow.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm like, well, damn, this depression is a very real thing here. So we definitely need to, get in front of it instead of having conversations after brothers and or sisters have killed themselves. Now, this is what I say about the brothers. We often, although I agree with Dr. Tommy Curry, I don't think that we are toxic. I don't think that we are hyper masculine. I think sometimes our ego, especially our brothers, gets in the way of us going out there and getting the support that we need. And this is where other brothers need to step up and say, hey, brother, I think you need some support. Because there's just so many things that are overwhelming. I mentioned to you, when I was going through my transition, my marriage, and looking at this data, I wept. It was crazy. I mean, just looking at all this negativity, like no one cares, it can make you depressed. The glass ceilings that are often placed on Black men who are well qualified for various positions, it becomes depressing. So Black men have to have a strength, to make sure that they're able to do the things that they need to do, whether it's providing for their partner or their children,
and just keeping their head above the fray, because racism is an ugly beast that's after us in a very nuanced way every single day. So, you know, it becomes very depressing. You know, and as I researched this work, when I was putting it together, I came across a documentary, and I want to shout out Squeaky Moore and Brother Nelson for the, you know, executives, directors, and producers of this film that we're going to show. It's a short called Faces of Darkness. And it really talks about the proliferation of suicide within the Black male community. And it's a real important conversation to have. So when we're talking about mental health awareness, we're not only talking about depression and everything. Oftentimes we're talking about suicide, and that's now a brother who has been taken out of the community. And you know, death is fine. And you know, if I could speak a little bit more about this particular symposium, you mentioned some of the people who are going to be on the panel, which I think is you know, I did this deliberately. Of course, my brother, Dr. Richard Hanzy, is a clinician, so I thought it would be more appropriate for him to moderate. But when you have people like Dr. Francies, who's a pastor, and he's also a counselor, a counselor at he was a counselor at the school level, right? So he has the secular aspect of counseling, and he also has the spiritual aspect of counseling. We have the former San Francisco police captain. This is a real good brother. And he and I have conversations all the time. I think he's more radical than I am. And, you know, it's kind of interesting that, you know, he had to be a very strong brother to deal with the ill that was around him, you know, within the department, because I'm pretty sure it existed, and the brutality and the heinous treatment of people that look just like heathens. Again, what type of conversation is he having with his son? What is his mental capacity? I mean, because he's human, although oftentimes males are viewed as human, but this is the reality. So, but nobody talks to the Black male police officer to see what they're going through, to see what their mental state is. You know, another thing he and I talked about, which is often goes, you know, undiscussed, is the suicide by blue. And what suicide by blue is when, you know, somebody is deliberately doing something so the police can kill them, right? So, of course, in my opinion, I think suicide is cowardly in any shape or form. That's just my opinion. However, when the suicide blue happens, it complicates situations, especially when we look at situations that currently been happening or historically been happening with Black males being shot down by police. And so when you have somebody doing that, like I said, it just makes the situation way worse than it already is, if that's even possible. So when these conversations are not happening, and of course we have, you know, our brother and good friend and contributor to Dr. Vibe as well, LeRon Barton, from his perspective as an author, contributor to the Good Man Project and relationships, so on and so forth. You know, how do men deal with their mental health awareness in these relationships? Because that's a big deal. We talk about, you know, men and women relationships. A lot of our sisters make more than we do. Our brothers are dealing with that. You know, so there's a lot of things that we need to unpack and provide resources for these brothers and young men on a consistent basis, and we're not doing it.
Wow. A lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff. Let me ask you in regards to, and actually I'm just taking a look at a report here. This is dated back to 2010, and who knows if the stats have trended upward, but back in 2010, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention report, or they did a report saying that suicide was the third leading cause of death of black men between the ages of 15 and 24.
Wow.
And that's 2010. It'd be interesting to see if there's any. I'm sure they probably maybe have an updated report, but one of the stats I always quote is that when it comes to suicides by people over 40 years old, 80% of them are by men. Now, I don't have any stats available on the breaking down by color, race, etc., but I have a feeling a decent amount are men of color or black men in regards to that. And I can speak to power a little bit too in regards to depression, that many years ago, and I've shared this story once in a while on the Dr. Vibe show, I was mentoring a young gentleman who was working at a grocery store. I chatted with him all the time. He was looking to get a career into HR, and we always used to chat, etc. There was a group of us, and it was a Sunday afternoon. One of the group called me, and I said, "Wow, this is strange. You're calling me on a Sunday. What's up?" He says, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you better sit down." And then he shared with me that this young man of color committed suicide in a hospital, and the fact that he suffered from depression and he didn't tell anybody. He kept it hidden. And that was my first, well, sure, there may be some family members involved too, but that was one of the most direct experiences I had in regard to black men and mental illness. And this gentleman couldn't have been more than 24, 25 years old. And this is a number of years ago. And that's when it really started to hit me about this whole area of black men and suicide, depression. And as I say, if you're not careful, life will kill you. And I think life is killing a number of black men.
No, absolutely. As you were saying that, I just thought, as an educator for over 25 years, right, that we often pathologize black students, whether it's black females or black males. Now, what I'll say about the females, they go through depression too, but they're a lot more vocal often than we are. So they're going to either emote and get it off their chest and everything. Not saying that they don't need resources and support, because they definitely do. But with the work I'm doing, I'm looking at, black males. I say that to say that sisters, anybody still welcome and invited to come into space. But understand, unapologetically, we're talking about black males. Oftentimes students go through a whole lot, Dr. Vibe. We know this. I mean, it's not like back in the day when we went to school.
Okay, so we're going to leave the conversation. For some reason, we're not able to get Dr. Rasheed back with us. So, yes, I'm just getting a message from him that his phone has gone wacky. I'm just waiting to hear the rest of this message. But you know what? Let's just wind it down here. So I'll just finish up here. That, again, the event is called Tackling the Taboo 2. And this is a discussion about black men and mental health issues facing the black community. And it's going to be held on July 15th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time at the Delta Bay Church of Christ, 913 Sunset Drive in Antioch, California. If you want to find out more information, you can certainly give a call to Dr. Rasheed at 925-726-6162, or you can reach him also via email at power_1906@yahoo.com. I will make sure that this information goes up on the replay of our conversation. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, this is the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. If you want to get a complimentary 30-minute empowerment session with myself, because I'm a certified empowerment coach and I am the owner of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications, one of three ways you can contact me. You can email me, dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Then you can also go through the website address, www.thedrvibeshow.com, or there's also Twitter at drvibeshow. If you want to watch replays, video replays of my epic conversations, go to the YouTube channel, just put in the space dr period space vibe space SHOW, and it'll take you right to the YouTube channel. We are just 2 away from getting 200 subscribers. So if it's in your heart to become a subscriber, pardon me, we'd love you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also listen to audio replays of my epic conversations through the website. Also, you can go through Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. We have Google Play Music. We also have thegoodmenproject.com with selected conversations, and also selected conversations at wjms.radio.com. So, as I always like to say, you're blessed and highly favored, you're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution to someone's problem. One other quick little message in regards to this area of depression, and just men in general. There are many men out there that are screaming and nothing's coming out. I am a man myself, and I don't want to be sexist, but it is not easy being a man. But men, please make sure if you're having a challenge, reach out, because men are not good alone. Have a friend. There are counselors out there. There are agencies out there. If you're having a challenge or a struggle, please don't do it alone. Don't go through it alone, because as I always say, you didn't come into this earth by yourself, so you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Okay? So remember, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. We will continue to address this issue and other issues like this on the Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. I'd like to thank you for taking time in your positive, productive schedule to watch us either live or via the replay. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and thanks for watching again. We'll see you soon.